Been a big month, a lot of change going on. Prop 50 passed on Tuesday, of course. The FAA reductions, fewer flights starting tomorrow, and Representative Nancy Pelosi saying today that she will not be seeking re-election after a nearly 40-year career in Congress.
A lot to talk about. Joining us to discuss all of this is East Bay Congressman Mark DeSaulnier. Congressman, thank you for joining us. We know you held a town hall just last week from your constituents. We want to talk about the shutdown, of course, but first and foremost, your reaction to Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi's retirement announcement.
Well, thank you for asking me on. I'm just grateful as a friend, as an American citizen, as a Californian. I can't say enough about her leadership, her legislative skills, not only the first woman speaker, and I was very glad that I was the 218th deciding vote for the last time she became speaker. So I'm just very grateful, and I think all Americans should be. And it's quite deplorable, the quote that I've read from the president, but grateful that for Nancy Pelosi in my life and in the Congress.
What was her greatest skill, and do you agree with many that say she's not going to be stepping away entirely?
I don't think she's capable of that. It's in her DNA, literally. So just so many things. Of course, the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, and here we are trying to defend that remarkable piece of health care that helped millions of Americans get health insurance. So I would say that, but so much. I mean, she was a leader on LGBTQ, appropriately representing this area, and women's rights, and really mostly just her legislative skills. To know her and to watch her up close is really quite a phenomenon.
Well, you mentioned health insurance. Of course, that is the number one issue here in terms of this government shutdown. What can you tell us about what's been happening this week? And do you think you might have a deal at some point in the next week?
I sure hope so. As a ranking member on the Health, Employment, Labor, and Pensions Subcommittee of the Labor Committee, which has jurisdiction over 120 million Americans who have employer-employee health care, our health care system is really under attack. Whether it's the Congressional Budget Office saying in the big ugly bill, 14 to 17 million Americans would lose their health care, or in this bill that we're holding out for, it would raise the cost of health care under the Affordable Care Act thousands of dollars a year for Americans. So all of that, I voted against this bill when it went out. I voted against the big ugly bill. All of this is to pay for the largest transfer of wealth from 90% of the American public to people who make over $7 million a year, and then extended permanently. So we cannot vote for this bill as is. I'm proud that the Senate Democrats are holding out. I believe in negotiating in good faith, but the good faith has not been shown by the other side in the White House.
Are you having any talks with any Republicans?
Not right now. Certainly before we left, and we were back last week. I mean, I have a lot of personal, professional relationships with conservative Republicans, but I don't know what they're doing. I think they're intimidated by the madness coming out of the White House.
When you had your town hall last week, one of the people we interviewed who had attended talked about how they weren't personally going to be they weren't personally affected by SNAP benefits. They weren't personally affected by the health insurance. They didn't think. But now with the travel issues that are going to be kicking into gear tomorrow, that really opens up such a wide swath of Americans that will be affected by this. Do you think that that is enough to get the other side moving?
I really don't know, because I've never seen anything like this. The Republican Party, of which when I first got elected to the City Council and the Board of Supervisors, when I started in my public service, I was a Republican, but I left because it was driving in this direction to more of a cult. I don't know, but I've never seen anything like this. What it tells me, I think, that they will break is two things. The public is attributing the responsibility to the Republican Party. And the other thing is the Epstein file. They can only hide this so long. One of the reasons we're out, I firmly believe, is when we go in, they have to swear in Representative-elect Grijalva, and that'll be the 200th signature in the discharge petition, which would require within 48 hours a vote of the full House whether to release it or not. And my Republican colleagues don't want to be in the position of voting yes to release it because they're intimidated by the president, and no to release it because they don't want to have to defend why they're defending people who did what they did in the Epstein file that we're led to believe. So I think that's the reason. The only crack I see is the American public in all the polling we see is siding with us and blaming the Republicans by pretty large margins given how divided the country is.
You were in Dublin this week with Representative Swalwell talking about what you call an ever-increasing presence of ICE in the Bay Area. What is the latest with that? What are you seeing?
I'm actually encouraged. I am encouraged that they have heard our resistance to that. I represent most of Dublin now, and I share it with Representative Swalwell. I represent where the federal prison was. It's very clear to me, and there were rumors that they were going to take that over, that can't happen, that we'd win a lawsuit very quickly because of the horrible physical health conditions of that facility right now, as determined by a federal judge and a special master that she presented. So, but on the other hand, I have the immigration court in my district in Concord. I've been down there. I've sat in the audience anonymously, and I feel pretty strongly that they will not overplay their hand, but they started in Concord, and it was the resolve of the community and us electeds that I think made them back off. And the other thing is the attitude of the governor and the attorney general that if they break state law, just because they're federal agents doesn't mean that they're immune to federal prosecution, and they clearly have broken state law in California. So I think that had a lot to do with them backing off across the state in California. These individuals will be held accountable under state law. They are not immune to that just because they're federal law enforcement.
All right, Representative Mark DeSaulnier, we're out of time. Appreciate yours. Have a good night.
My pleasure. Thanks as always.
Take care.